Your guide to reading and understanding abstract art. Understanding the different ways to approach art, read, and criticize art is important when attempting to understand abstraction. Have you ever stood in front of a painting, daunted by its visual power and yet absolutely bewildered with regards to its meaning? Is it a giant snowy mountain shining brightly under the sunlight, or is it an intimidating volcano bursting through the sky? Is it even supposed to be anything? If questions like these have ever crossed your mind while viewing a work, you are in the right place. We are discussing abstract art, not only how to understand what it is, but also how to read it and comprehend the artist's intention. From appreciating the art form for the freedom it inspires to making individual visual connections while attempting to navigate every step towards understanding abstraction. Where to begin? Reading and understanding abstract art is fairly easy. All you need is an open mind and a wandering imagination. The first step is to prepare yourself to look beyond the things you already know or recognize. Abstraction allows man to see with his mind what he cannot physically see with his eyes. Abstract art enables the artist to perceive beyond the tangible, to extract the infinite out of the finite. It is the emancipation of the mind. It is an exploration into unknown areas. Arshile Gorky. Abstraction finds its roots in intuition of the artist and freedom for the artist as well as the viewer. It is the capability of the artist to use his imagination to look beyond what we can physically see and translate intangible emotions onto the canvas. It is also the ability of the audience to then try to connect the artist's intention and free their own mind of visual restrictions. Historically, the abstract art movement emerged in the 19th century as a reaction to academic painting or realism. In fact, a very simple way to understand the essence of abstract art is to think of it as a visual opposite of realistic art. While realism pays attention to every tiny fold or wrinkle, abstraction gives the artist the freedom to trust his or her intuition to create art that is equally worthy of an audience. There is no code to crack. As human beings, solving problems come naturally to us. While this can be quite useful in most situations, in the case of the world of abstract art, it's not going to come in handy at all. The most important thing to understand about abstract art is that it does not have to have a meaning, narrative, or even a singular explanation. The main purpose of abstraction is not to tell a story, but to encourage involvement and imagination. This art form primarily focuses on providing its viewers with intangible and emotional experience, more often than not completely different for every individual depending on the personality and state of mind. Therefore, it's really up to the viewer himself to decide whether the painting in front of him has any meaning or provokes any emotion. Like we said, abstract art is all about freedom. How to look at abstract art. But how do you actually look at it and understand it? Do you stand in front of it and try to find familiar figures, or do you just glance at it in the passing? Understanding the different ways to approach, read, and criticize art is important when attempting to understand abstraction. It is easy to appreciate Van Gogh or Rembrandt as the mastery of a technique is obviously visible. However, in order to appreciate abstraction, our focus should not be on how realistically the artist has painted something or someone, but rather on how successful a piece is in evoking emotion. Abstract paintings can also be appreciated in terms of the individual elements of art: color, shape, line, texture, space, value, etc. An abstract artist's skills lie in his or her ability to use colors and textures to their best visual strength and to create a sound composition from these elements. Here are some do's and don'ts to keep in mind. Don't look at the clock. There's no need to stand in front of an abstract work for hours to really understand it. Look for as long as you want and for as long as it pulls you in. Don't talk about your 5-year-old. We all know art is subjective, and sometimes there are pieces that we just can't connect to, especially when it comes to abstract art. Nonetheless, your 5-year-old can still not do that. Don't insult the artist's imagination. Instead, if you really can't seem to like a work, think about what it is that is making you feel that way. Don't mind the title. More often than not, abstract paintings will have an extremely vague title, like Number 4 or Black and Red. Don't let that bother you. Most artists purposely don't use giveaway titles because they want you to interact with the art and eventually find the meaning. However, that doesn't mean you completely ignore the title. Sometimes these can be very helpful in guiding your imagination. Do read the wall text. Speaking of guides, always read the wall text. It can give you valuable information on the artist's background or artistic intention. Don't let the painting reach out to you. Free your mind of any thoughts. Give it a little time and simply let the painting convey its intended emotion to you. Observe the colors and textures. What do they make you feel? Like Jackson Pollock said, abstract painting is abstract. It confronts you. Let the painting ask the questions instead of the other way around. Don't stress about feeling something. It's not necessarily for an abstract painting to have a contextual side to it, and it is not necessary for you to be able to feel each and every emotion it is meant to convey. If it doesn't do anything for you, so be it. Don't ask all of the questions just yet. Thinking too much about what the painting means can be disturbing or tiring. Instead, focus on the affirmative statements. Think about how the painting makes you feel and what kind of emotions does it convey. Think about how the artist's background or situation may have affected his painting. Try to work with the things you know instead of questioning everything. Do remember that abstraction does not have to have a meaning. While getting an artwork brings a momentary feeling of victory, bathing in its mystery brings enjoyment for far longer.